That's definitely how we should start.
Hey!
Are we legally allowed to do this?
Yes. So I'm hanging out with Mr. Lock Lynch.
Oh, hi.
And we're still at Proof.
So we got Andy over there.
Andy Seven Bears.
Yeah. Say hi, Andy. Wait. Well, he's in there somewhere.
Yes, he'll stick his head in. So what are you doing, man? Besides eating?
So I just came from Kennedy Theater at UH Manoa, where I'm doing the sound design for Matilda, which is the new, that's newish, a couple of years old, a few years old. God, I don't even know how long ago it came out. But from Tim Minchin. Tim Minchin did the lyrics and music for it. And he's actually an but years ago, he came from Australia, did a lot of really cool stuff with like secular, like critical of organized religion, really interesting, well-written lyrics about his relationship with the rock scene and all that kind of stuff. And super funny, it's really cool. And then he like kind of calmed down a little bit and wrote a fucking musical. And it's really good. It's really cool. But I'm doing sound design for that. I'm gonna go upstairs and do promotional shit, like we talked about, trying to figure out how to work up the energy to do the promotional crap that I don't like doing.
So for people beyond the reef and over the tell people what you do, who you are, what's your legacy, what you've done. This guy's done so much.
I've done jack shit.
It's crazy.
I've ruined many an album and just generally done a bad job. What do you do? I do bad work. That's what I do.
Let me tell you a quick story. So Shavana opened up Lucky Strike. And it was just as a straight kind of thing. And so Lock here, Lock has this, I can do photographs and see light, he sees sound. He's going, baffle there, and I'm going like, what the, and so, Lock has sound.
Acoustics, man.
And it's DNA, so.
It's, anyway, foyer analysis, acoustics, and psychoacoustics. Like, the idea of sound isn't real. It's an auditory, it's a hallucination our brain makes to parse out information for us. And it uses calculus and trigonometry and Fourier analysis to do it. Like that's how our cochlea actually works. So, and trying to analyze and break down how that works on a physical level, and then how we can reconstruct that in a mix with microphones and boards and effect processors and compressors and all this kind of stuff. How you can evoke images in people's minds and evoke emotion out of people with this hallucination that your brain makes is fucking crazy. That's the coolest shit ever. It's the same way with photography. You can take the concept of color and shading and all that stuff and evoke something in the viewer. That's fucking cool. How is that not the coolest fucking thing imaginable, right? So
I try to make sure that, whatever my perspective is, you look at it and you're right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the challenge is looking inside yourself to see what perspective I want to present, and then developing the skill set to be able to accomplish that perspective, right? Those are both the inward looking is a skill set in itself, and then developing the technique to express that is also a skill set in itself, right? There's Ira Glass, the author, writer dude, has a great video talking about the gap, and the whole thing he talks about is that you get into things because you have good taste. You get into things, you want to start doing photography because you've seen photography so much and you love a particular thing or style or whatever, and it encourages you or inspires you to get into it. But the skill set, so you've developed this taste that you have for something, but the skill set of actually accomplishing that thing you want to achieve is completely different skill set, and a lot of times you fucking suck ass at that. You're really bad at that, even though you can still judge things well. And so there's a gap between how good you can judge things and how bad you are at actually making them. And he talks about how to overcome that, and basically just do a bunch of work, just make a bunch of shitty art until you develop the ability to not make shitty art anymore. And that's a huge part. I lecture at UH Manoa and at HCC now, which blows my mind. But one of the first things I do in my classes when I talk to students is literally just play them that video and like tell them like everything you do is gonna suck. Like it's okay. It's supposed to suck. Like it's supposed to suck for a long time until you work on it for 10,000 hours or whatever Malcolm Gladwell's fucking shit is. And not to say that it's bad. He's cool. He does good work. But yeah, and then eventually you get better at it, right? Like is that what you've experienced with?
Yeah, my first couple of years was just learning how to do the film and then learning my perspective in the photo pit or what I want to see and how to overcome the basics of a crowd. How do I get on stage? The perspective I want to see.
Oh, the psychology of the situation too. How do you navigate it to get to the right position to do this?
Exactly.
That's so much crazier for because I'm used I show up and I run a gig people get out of my way because they need to but as a photographer you have to bully your way into situations sometimes.
And I have this really cool guys have what's called the ninja clause. You're not supposed to be seen. And so if the people I work around with backstage pass look at me, they're not really photographers. They're like whatever. And the real photographer, you never see them. They're like a fly on the wall. And the best moments are that where you can hang out, people and having access, people trust you, and you snap away, and then that's where you get those moments.
So one of the things one of the first jobs you get in a studio is being like a runner, right, or an intern or whatever. You just call them gophers, right? Like go for this, go for that. The skill set of a gopher is like taking there's a presence. Like somebody walks into a room, they can just exude a presence. You immediately notice them. Or someone can turn that knob all the way down and walk into a room and be completely unnoticeable. That's that thing that you're talking about, right? Like fly on the wall kind of thing. But one of the first skill sets you learn as a gopher is how to fold your presence in on itself so that people don't notice you. Because if you're making art is a very sensitive thing, you don't want someone to feel like you're looming over them as they're writing this thing talking about the almost near death experience of their mother in this lyric that they love. You don't want to be looming over them, man. And so, but the cool thing about that is you turn that knob down, with learning how to turn that knob down, it's the same process of turning the knob up, too. You learn how to turn it down, and it teaches you how to turn it up when you need to eventually later, right? Does that make sense?
Very.
Dude, that's I like seeing that.
It's knowing your place in the food chain.
Oh, God, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you're there for a reason, and that's the reason. You don't want to go over past that reason.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can't remember who it was. I think it was Steve Albini who wrote a great article about that as it relates to the studio world. And the idea of you're sweeping floors, and while you're doing that, you're watching and you're learning. And then suddenly the assistant engineer gets fucking ripped out of his mind the night before it doesn't show up.
Yeah.
And then suddenly you're there in the right position, and someone's not shown up. And so that's when you can jump in and be like, all right, now I'll be the assistant engineer. Same thing happens with the main engineer. Same thing happens with the producers. It's always developing. You have to set up. You learn how to set up the things when you have a smaller opportunity to take advantage of it when there's a larger opportunity, right?
So all of a sudden your door is open.
Yeah.
Are you going to go through it, or are you going to not?
Right?
Yeah. You're all in for it then all of a sudden.
Fuck yeah.
There was a great story that Miles Davis says when Dizzy Gillespie left Charlie Parker's band. Miles is in the crowd. He's 15 or 16, and Bert goes, "You." He goes, "Me?" And that's how Miles got into Charlie Parker's band for a while.
What else are you gonna do when fucking Bert tells you, "Fucking you"?
Yeah.
You get the fuck up and play, even if you suck. But he didn't because he was practicing.
Yeah.
And that's how he knew to point at him.
Yeah.
Because he probably had seen him around and heard what.
So kids, do your homework. Get ready for that opportunity because it only opens once.
Hell yeah, dude. Oh, this is fun, man. We're going to do this more often.
Yeah, well, hopefully. And so actually, we're at Proof still, Andy's bar, and you can't see it, but Locke is in between gigs, and he's actually eating a meatball sub.
Dude, oh yeah. It's delicious.
It's delicious.
Come to Proof and eat their food. It's extremely good.
So, Proof is a great little bar. It's on the other side of Chinatown, the Barry Tanner side of Chinatown. So if you go to Hawaii Theater or something like that, come here, check it out. It's a nice vibe. And say hi to Andy. And
Jasmine. Paid for this little ad, Andy? Here we go. Wait. Here we go. Say hi.
Come on down, folks. We got some live music tonight. Come check it out.
Oh, wait, who's playing?
Fitting Graves.
Oh, do you need my PA again? No one's using it tonight. Alright, cool. Oh, yeah, it's after 4. Fuck that.
He has his own stuff.
Nice. If you need anything on the stairs, let me know.
So Locke and I have this thing. I can only photograph Locke if it's a weird or obscene, not obscene, weird thing. So I think
Yes.
I have him lay on the ground.
Perfect,
After
nice.
him and he's like practically raping Root Hub. I sent you that photograph.
I immediately said that to Rudolph too. He was so good.
Yeah, and then one of my favorites is when Savannah was doing the Crossroads. Savannah had to change the string, and the string's dangling, and this photograph of Locke with a wire cutter showing it to Devon.
Random shit. I love it, dude.
Yeah, because that's one of the things.
That's real.
Yeah, it's not posed. It's just it's there, and that's what the whole thing about Locke's existence. So
Yeah. I had a. Oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
That comes back to exactly what you were talking about like being able to be a fly on the wall to capture,
Yes.
like whatever they want to have, or whatever is reflecting the spirit of that moment, right? And in my particular case, in this particular case, it was just fucking dumb bullshit.
I think it's on my Facebook someplace, and it's a great photograph. Locke with a pair of wire cutters, and Toronto's this big shit eating grin going.
Hell yeah, man.
Because I guess in the engineering of sound guy, if your wires are dangling, it's gonna,
It's just annoying. I mean, I know some people like it, some people don't like it a lot, and some people don't care. So I think I ended it to him, and he was like, "Wow, whatever," and we just went on with it. So, but it's always about the psychology of the situation is extremely important, right? In the same way that it's important for being able to interact with it and to capture the thing, right? Like as a producer and engineer, one of the things you should always be thinking about is what is the psychological environment of the artist that you're working with, right? And not only what is the environment, but what environment should there be to accomplish the art that they want to do. I had a girlfriend who was a professional counselor, and we would always have this conversation, but she was always very angry with me, jokingly angry, because I got to do the things she never could. As a counselor, she has a moral obligation and an ethical obligation to only do good, to help people, but and so to use psychology and mind stuff to to generally help people do well. But as a producer, I don't have that fucking moral obligation. My moral obligation is, first of all, I don't have any ethics boards fucking revoking my production license or whatever. And I have a moral obligation to get the art done that the artist wants. And if that means send someone in there to slap him in the fucking face and then do a take with them pissed as shit, then that's my moral obligation to do. So I can utilize psychology. You should utilize psychology within reason, obviously, to accomplish the art the artist wants. Not the perspective you think they should have, but to figure out what they're trying to do and help the spirit of that coalesce as much as you can.
Yeah.
And if it means fucking with them, then fuck with them.
Because I have sometimes on a bigger show, I'll have a pre-production meeting. I photographed Kevin Jones a couple years ago, and we talked on the phone a couple times. Our influences, and it turned out, black and white. And then we actually, when we got to this, we started photographing, it was what it was. And when you have a collaboration, it's good. And then we get after photoshopping or whatever, and you show it to your client or your buddy, and they go, "Fuck, that's crazy," then you did your job.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So then there's two things, because sometimes you do an assignment and you need to have a certain photograph for their album cover or something, and then I always flip it out after doing the basics. Let's do some shit. Let's fuck it up.
Yes.
Yeah. With Keith, I did Keith Batlin's single a couple months ago, and he did his little things, and I said, "Let's go to the beach park." There was one lone pine of tree. He had a chair with him for some reason, and it turned out so fun.
Dude, nice. Did you end up going with that instead of the one that you tried that you were talking about planning, or is that something he has in his pocket to use for later or something?
Yeah, something. I gave him a few things, and hopefully he's Keith, use those photographs. But one of the ones that he wanted was on the single,
Nice.
And he covered "Mary Jane" by Rick James.
Nice.
Yeah.
I can see him doing that.
Yeah. So tell everybody you have a studio.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
plug your studio. Plug your shit, man.
I have a recording studio. It's called the Analog Rock Machine Studio. AnalogRockMachineStudio.com. So we do. We've been kind of pivoting more towards doing helping with production as well as just recording. So if you need help putting a band together or finding musicians to do what you want to do, Like we have like a stable of musicians that we can call on to help with stuff. Yeah, I have a record label as well called NanoWeber Records. NanoWeber is the unit of measurement across a tape head on tape machines. So it's a really nerdy thing. It also sounds like Little Web Feet, so I like want to put like Nene as part of it, whatever. So it's like a dad joke and a nerdy thing, so it's doubly fucking dumb. I love it, but yeah, like the whole point of that too is just to help build infrastructure for artists trying to do cool things. Like there's already infrastructure for traditional Hawaiian, there's already infrastructure for island reggae, and those are great, you know, styles of music, and there's a lot of history and mana and that stuff. But there's also a lot of cool stuff in the underground scene. And so trying to figure out ways of helping and building infrastructure for artists doing that kind of stuff here is one of the things. That's like the main reason why I stayed in Hawaii, and after I graduated high school and everything. So that's the thing. Everything is focused on helping people do things like that. The studio's there to do that. The label's there to help with the money side of stuff, and hopefully maybe get some sync licensing and whatnot for stuff if we can. You know, allow people to have a job with their music without having to leave the islands. That's the big thing. So that's what we're trying to do.
And then what are you doing tomorrow night?
I'm going to the Hokus.
And so the Nahana Hoku Awards is the Hawaiian Grammys, where once a year the industry recognizes itself. So what are you there for?
So my one of the bands on my label called DNA Muse are up for a Hoku this year. We're up against the Green, and we're up against. Oh my God, that's great. So we're up against the Green, and we're up against a bunch of other like well-known cats and stuff. And like, and any kind of award show is always going to have a bit of politics and name recognition to it. That's totally how everything works. And plus, you know, people put out great music. So there is a way to the Hara is the organization that puts it on. They do a thing. They give an email blast service where you can like blast out to all of the voting members like an email and some samples. They can do physical stuff too, but it's really expensive. But so because like this is the first band on my label that's been nominated for a Hoku. I've personally won them before.
How many?
I mean, I personally won one, and I've worked on like over 10 albums that I've won. Both Mike Piranha albums won. The first Mike Love album, I was the mix engineer for that one. That one won. The one I won was for a rap for the Akita project, which is pretty cool. Man, there was like 3 or 4 other ones I can't even think of anymore. But,
so he has a pedigree, folks.
But
you know what he's talking about.
I don't know about pedigree, but I've worked on other people's music that have pedigrees. But so you can. The hot dogs. Oh my God, wiener dogs have pedigrees. There you go. I'm down with it. So you can do this email blast thing, and because I did not think that like there was just this thing. Like I mean, the whole concept of our record label and stuff is just fucking punk rock, man. Like I wanted to be authentic with regardless of how much I'm going to shoot myself in the foot being authentic. And so I did an email blast, but I specifically did an email blast that was like, hey, aloha everybody, like, you know, so we're just happy to be nominated. We figured we'd send this out to remind you that today's the last day of voting. So hopefully you guys vote for something, like, if you haven't voted already, like, just, you know, aloha, thanks everybody. Like, but we just sent this email literally on the last day of voting, after everyone's already voted, just to be fucking weird about it and, you know, be memorable and fun. But because there's so much pomp and circumstance surrounding all of it, and which is fine if you're into that. But you know, we're in the middle of Chinatown. The record label's in a dilapidated old hotel that, you know, I'm holding everything together with fucking duct tape and shoestrings. And so I wanted my relationship to the official community to kind of reflect that. And it was fun. Like I sent it, at one point in the email blast, I was like, you know, we're now, you know, trying to do this cool thing and all that jazz. Or reggae. God, that's a horrible dad joke. Let's see if this makes it through after sending it to the band to double check. And they liked it, so that's in the email. So it's just dumb and fun. And
Good luck.
thanks.
See you
Oh
tomorrow.
yeah. So I'm really using it as an excuse to go get wasted in the middle of the day. So. But you're in there as well, right?
Yeah. Linda contracted me for
Nice.
do some stuff.
Oh wait, are you sitting with Linda as well?
Yeah.
Oh cool. I'm gonna be sitting with you.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Oh man, that's gonna be fun.
I should do. Hey, Keone, what's up, man? Hold on. Let's. I've been neglecting the waving people and stuff. Sorry if I haven't said anything, but it's always interesting. I haven't seen Lock in how long? I haven't seen Lock in a year, almost 2 years since the pandemic and stuff. And we're all trying to crawl out of the rock we were in and stuff. So it's good to see him. And actually, Proof is Lock Studios above.
I'm right above Proof, so this is my main dig.
Yeah. So. Another thing. So anyway, thanks for indulging us, and I'll check in later.
Don't get wasted at Proof. That's good stuff.
Yeah. Aloha.